Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark with the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1933 war romance film, The Bitter Tea of General Yin.
I expect nothing from you.
Hey, well, that's fantastic. The pressure is off. Thank you. What a relief. I appreciate that. If this is your first time joining me, I am reviewing every movie in this book, the 1001 movies you must see before you die. The Bitter Tea of General Yin was directed by Frank Capra. He directed two of my favorite films of all time. In fact, one is in my top three of all time. That is It's a Wonderful Life. And the other film is Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. He's also famous for directing It Happened One Night. Now, the female lead of this film is Barbara Stanwyck. She plays a character named Megan, though it seems like her fiance in the beginning of the film, his name is Strike. He keeps calling her Megan for some reason. Now, her name is spelled Megan, so I'm going to go with Megan. Now, Barbara Stanwyck is either my favorite actress of all time or my second favorite actress of all time. I go back and forth between her and Katharine Hepburn. I just can't make up my mind. Now, you would think this movie has one of my favorite directors of all time, one of my top two favorite actresses of all time. This must be my favorite film. I must absolutely love this with a passion. And the answer to that is no. I don't love this film. I barely even like this film, to be perfectly honest. Now, the male actor, the male lead in this movie is Niels Ashter, who is a Swedish-born white gentleman who plays a Chinese general. This is considered problematic today. It was also problematic back then. The movie was also problematic back then for other reasons, but the yellow face stuff was and is still considered to be problematic. I will talk a little bit more about that later, about the racism in this movie, but let's talk about the positives first. So this was one of the first Hollywood films to tackle interracial romance. It confronted interracial desire, which was rare in 1930s Hollywood and was actually prohibited under the strict enforcement of the Hayes Act years later. So this is one of the last films to be able to do this. This film acknowledges a woman's sexual and emotional inner life in ways that would only be permitted again in the 1960s. So you had to go 30 years ahead of time before the Hays Code stopped, really deciding what could be in movies. This film has lavish sets, dramatic shadow-heavy cinematography, and surreal dream images and erotic fantasy sequences. Now, back to the racism. In the beginning of this movie, we have Megan and her fiance, Strike. They are in China. They're getting ready to get married. They're having like a pre-wedding party, which one of the moms has thrown and has paid for. I also think she was Auntie M in The Wizard of Oz. I'm not 100% sure about that. I haven't looked that up, but I think she was Auntie M in The Wizard of Oz. Anyway, at this party, they're just talking up about how much they hate Chinese people, and the racism is flying in this party. Also, the yellow face stuff was also problematic. So I know we're supposed to think of this as this was a sign of the times, and we have to not get on our soapboxes and preach about how yellow face and black face and brown face are bad. I would disagree with that, though. I've talked in other reviews about how I don't agree with that statement, because even during this time, people were speaking out against racism, against brown face, against yellow face, against brown face. So it's not like it was just something that everyone did and everyone accepted, and that was the sign of the times. In fact, there was a movie a couple of years earlier that I watched called The Shanghai Express, and I don't think anyone in that film had yellow face. I think they used actual actors from China, Chinese actors. I don't know, but I don't remember reading anything about it being racist, or, well, it is racist. They use racist slurs in that movie, but the actors itself I don't think were racist. I think they used actual Chinese actors. So there were people who spoke out about this at the time. It's not like everyone did it. It's not like it was 100% everyone being racist against Chinese people. But movies like this helped perpetuate that, because it shows China as chaotic, violent, and irrational, The Chinese characters are framed as mysterious, sensual, and morally ambiguous, and the Chinese culture is treated as an alien world of danger that seduces the white heroine. Of course, none of this is true. China was at civil war back then, but it's not the hellscape that it is pictured in movies. It's not as bad as movies like this say it was. It's just the Chinese person back then, the Chinese citizen, and the country of China was the villain of the movie, basically. It's the unknown. Not a lot of Americans were there, and it's just the fear of what could be there and the fear of what everyone's telling you is there. And I'm just not about it. I really hated that part of this movie. There's other things I didn't like about this movie. But I wasn't a fan of that. And I'm assuming that a lot of people today are not going to be a fan of that either. So essentially what happens in this movie is you have Strike and you have Megan. They are going to get engaged. But then a civil war breaks out in China, and there's a lot of children who are being killed. Now they're missionaries, and they decide that they're going to go on this crazy quest. I don't think Megan really understands how dangerous this quest is, because Strike's going to go by himself, and he says that he'll be back. He'll see her when he gets back, and she insists on going, and she says, maybe we'll bring back General Yin with us. It'll be like a party. Everyone will have fun. I don't think she really understands the danger that's happening here. So they go to get these children. Of course, like, children and people are being killed left and right. There's just murder going on. They find 6 children, and they nearly get them to safety. And then the train, I believe they're going to go on a train, or they're going to somehow get out of there. It's very chaotic. But they end up getting separated, and Megan ends up getting knocked out. And when she comes to, she's confronted by General Yin. General Yin has basically captured her. Now, initially he says he's going to give her back, but he can't do it right now because of the Civil War. He can't put her on a train. There's no way for her to get any transportation back to her fiance, so he has to keep her for now. But then later on, he reads the newspapers and he realizes that people think that she's dead, and he finds her to be very attractive. So he decides he's going to keep her captive, and he's going to try to seduce her pretty much all the time. Now, this of course is the power imbalance captivity trope, and it's also a forbidden desire narrative, essentially. So she is, in the beginning, she pushes back against it. She wants nothing to do with General Yin because she's engaged, and she loves the man she's engaged to, named Strike. There's also a Chinese woman who is working for General Yin. He's kind of like, she's kind of like his slave, and for some reason, Megan thinks that since she's a woman, that she can reach out to her and ask her to help her get out of there. Like they're going to share some sort of camaraderie with each other because they're both women, and basically since she's a woman, she should see the trouble that she's in, and she should be able to do something about it. Now, the woman in question, the Chinese woman, is basically trying to plot against General Yin. I believe she's like she's kind of like a mole, it seems like, and she's working for the side that General Yin is against. That comes into play later. That's important later. But essentially, this girl never does anything to help to help Megan get away from the situation. Eventually, for some reason, there's these dream sequences in which Megan dreams that General Yin is like saving her from a character that looks a lot like the guy from Nosferatu, like 10 years in the future. He fights off this character that looks very similar to Nosferatu. I don't know why, he just does. But she starts having these like erotic dreams about General Yin, and for some reason falls in love with him. I didn't understand this. It really doesn't make sense to me. He gives her besides the fact that he finds her attractive, and he is in power, and she basically is this helpless heroine, and he's like a person who is very rich and powerful and commands a lot of commands a lot of attention and power where he is. I don't see any reason for her to fall in love with him. I really wasn't understanding that part. I'm sure that there's something I missed here, but it seems all irrational to me, basically. She falls in love with him, and by the end of the movie, he loses all of his riches, he loses his army, he loses all of his influence in China, and he goes to, well, this is going to be a spoiler, so if you plan on watching this movie from 1933, I'm going to spoil it. It sounds weird to say that I'm spoiling a movie from 1933, but if you haven't watched it yet and you're going to, at the end of the movie, since he's lost everything, and I think he did have like sexual feelings for Megan, but I don't think he ever loved her. He decides he's going to kill himself, basically. He's going to poison himself. She finds him, like, I don't know if she realizes he's going to poison himself, but she throws herself on his knee and said, like, I could never leave you. I could never love anyone else. Very weird. She has a fiance. I don't really know why she fell out of love with her fiance, but anyway, she throws her, and then he drinks the tea and commits suicide. And then at the end of the movie, she's basically on a boat with another American who worked for General Yin, and the Americans all talking about how great General Yin was, how there's never going to be another guy like him, and he starts like rambling off about different philosophical things that General Yin used to say to him. And he's like, I don't know if you're going to get married to Strike. Oh, maybe you will get married to Strike. I'm drunk. Who knows? Maybe you will, maybe you won't. You might do it. Anyway, General Yin, he was a salt of the earth. That guy used to say really snappy, smart things, and just him rambling drunk for like a couple minutes. And that's basically the end of the movie. That's the whole thing. I will say the cinematography in this movie is beautiful. The camera work is gorgeous. The different shadows, and they do like kaleidoscope things in this film, which they have done for a decade or so. A lot of the older movies that I've watched before this, they do kaleidoscope lens stuff still, but it looks great. Black and white kaleidoscope to me looks absolutely fantastic. The movie looks beautiful. The acting is also very good. Barbara Stanwyck, I think she's great in everything she's in, of course. Niels Ashter is also good, even though, he's a white guy playing a Chinaman. He's still very good at what he's doing. I wish that they probably could have found someone who's actually Chinese, a leading man who could have done just as well. They decided not to do that. That's bad on you, Frank Capra. Should have done that. But I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the plot in general. Not a huge fan of the racism. 0% fan of the racism. This movie just wasn't that exciting to me. It wasn't that entertaining. It wasn't that engaging. I just really wasn't that into it. And I think it's just because I don't understand and I don't believe the romance, the love story, if you want to call it a love story, in this film. It just doesn't work for me. It falls apart very early on when you realize that she's having these erotic dreams about him. I'm thinking, oh, is this where this movie's going? Because it's not where I wanted it to go. It's not where I saw it going. And I think I kind of checked out a little bit after that because I just was so uninterested in the plot going that direction. But anyway, I'm going to say because of the cinematography, because of the lighting effects that they do, the kaleidoscope stuff that they're doing, the shadow, the dream sequences, and because of the acting from Barbara Stanwyck and from Niels, I am going to still give it a 7 out of 10. Not my favorite movie. Still not my least favorite movie, but wasn't a huge fan of it. So yeah, 7 out of 10. I hope you join me next time when I review a movie called She Done Him Wrong. Mae West, I believe, is the actress, the lead in that movie. So thank you. Have a great day.